everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. We're so excited to have you with us. We have a really fun, kind of unique interview / discussion that we're going to be having today. Really looking forward to it. Now, I'm Rachel, and we have the host of the It's Complicated podcast as our guest today. And Amber and I were on their podcast. Was it in January or February?
I think it was December.
It was December. Okay. I don't remember. That whole time is kind of a blur. Anytime with Christmas is kind of, I lose track of everything. But yeah, we were on their podcast. It was so much fun. And we had a great time. So we're excited to have them on our podcast. And since Amber couldn't be here, we have a special guest co-hosting today. We have Kelly from the blog SingleTableforOne. So Kelly, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be here today.
Yeah. So Jen and Lauren, thank you also for coming and talking with us on the podcast.
Of course. We're very happy to be here.
So why don't you each introduce yourself, all three of you, and tell us, Jen and Lauren, how you kind of came up with the idea of doing the podcast.
Okay. Well, I'm Lauren, and I am one half of the It's Complicated. And we came up with the idea for the podcast because we started hosting at AfterBuzz TV, doing post-game wrap-ups for TV shows, after shows, if you will. And our lead, head producer and creator of the network thought that Jen and I had a little bit of a special chemistry. So he said, you guys should do your own thing. We made a YouTube channel called Two Drunk Girls, where we were like the young Kathy Lee and Hoda, right, Jen?
Yep.
Yeah, we were giving you the weekly entertainment news, but with booze, with a drink. And then we got approached by LA Talk Radio to host a show. And so we sort of went down a path of dating and relationships, because I feel like we all talk about it so much. And so then that's how It's Complicated was born. It was just our quirky, funny personalities talking and venting about dating and relationships.
Yeah. That did it help you in your relationships, talking about it a lot, or did it actually make you more analytical about them?
I don't know, Jen. I mean, I think it helps, because I think it helps to talk to anybody, whether it's a therapist or a friend. And our show and our vibe feels very much like friendly banter. And Jen and I have gone through many different stages of dating and relationships, single, not single. So I feel like it's helped me just to have the support and just to talk to Jen. I feel like it's helped you too, Jen, right?
I think so, for sure, because the fact that we spend every week for the past 3 years researching dating and relationships topics to discuss each week on our show with our various guests has created a situation where we're very knowledgeable in the subject, not just interested, but actually experts. And I think also it helps in keeping us accountable, because we can't preach something without practicing it. So I think first, every time I'm about to do something, would I tell our listeners to do that? Would I tell a friend to do that? Shouldn't I take my own advice? Let me uphold this behavior that I'm asking other people to do and really just be my best self.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes I want to be not my best self and be ooh, I want to lay it on someone and kind of tell them how I really feel. But I'm nope. I'm going to just take the high road and educate the person and move on to the next.
Well, and it's kind of it's also sort of the devil on your shoulder, the angel on your shoulder. It's sort of now the podcast on your shoulder, because it's you know what you really should be doing. And so it's kind of yeah, okay, I'll do the right thing. I'll do the best thing.
Yeah, because we have to talk about it. I mean, we don't have to talk about it. We choose to talk about it. We're really open and honest. And so we know at the end of the day, if we're going to deliver the best show we can deliver, we're going to be as honest as we can. And so we're going to tell the story again. And is it going to make us look like jerks or what? Maybe think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kelly, tell us a little bit about your blog and kind of how you got started.
My blog is, as you stated, SingleTableforOne, and it is a blog that reviews Hallmark movies and pairs them with cocktails or other adult beverages. And I have a love for Hallmark movies. I had been wanting to start a blog, but I wanted to do not just a regular movie review. I wanted to give it a different perspective. And as somebody who is currently, single in the trying to date, but struggling, so maybe I should listen to It's Complicated a little. I'll be checking your podcast out soon.
Oh my gosh, you definitely should.
I thought it'd be fun. I was like, what would be more fun during the holidays than to have like a spiked hot cocoa and watch some Hallmark movies? And that's kind of how it got started. And I like doing it. I probably should do it more often, but it's fun. And I've gotten to meet some really cool people, especially on Twitter, and do things like live tweeting, which was really exciting, and a few other cool things lately. And now I'm here and it's really exciting.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to have you. Yeah, I think that there's actually a lot of single girls that are into Hallmark programs and to rom-coms in general. And I was just curious what you guys thought of. Do you think that watching these, kind of basically romantic fantasies is what they are, do you think that that's helpful, healthy, just fun, or do you think it can be not healthy as far as our relationships and kind of what we're looking for kind of thing? How do you guys are a fan of romantic comedies, so how do you kind of balance that? What do you think, Jen?
Well, I am a big Hallmark fan, and I watch every single movie. I could literally tell you what they're all about, even if I just heard the title, or if I heard the title, I could tell you what that movie was about like 5 years ago. So the reason I love them is the escapism, and it's like the dream. It's almost like I'm watching a vision board of what I want. But at the same time, I do have to remind myself that, like, my postman is not going to necessarily deliver me my mail and then we fall in love. Like, that's just not how life often works. In a perfect world, it could happen, maybe.
I love you already, man. You are.
It hasn't happened yet, and I sort of try and, like, take myself back down to earth and think, like, all right, that would be a wonderful story. And I'm like holding out, like, I still have hope. But I'm like, okay, I also might just meet my guy on a dating app, or I might meet him like in a weird situation at some other place, or by being set up by friends. I'm still like, that's the dream, but I'm like, all right, it's not realistic necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, that totally, all those things you just described could be a Hallmark movie. So,
well,
they have lots about dating apps. I'm just saying.
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen the one about the girl and the dating app.
Oh, Mingle All the Way was one of my favorite Jen Lilly ones from last Christmas. Yep.
Yeah.
And there was another one too. That girl who created the app, but her family lived in Florida, and the guy who still stayed in the old town.
Oh, yeah. That was just barely in May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The Love in the Sun.
Yes.
Love in the Sun.
Yes.
Our hunky kayak builder.
Yes.
Guys are always, there's always some burly, hunky, manly man, which,
that they left behind.
Yeah. What do you think, Lauren? Do you think that these sort of escapism, do you think that they can be problematic, or do you think that it's healthy for women to have that kind of release, for lack of a better word?
I think, honestly, if you are having a point in your life where you're, maybe you're anxious or you're depressed or something, so your like reality is skewed, or you're having a hard time like rationalizing totally, then yeah, maybe something like this could like set you over the edge and make you feel like this is never going to happen, or I only want this to happen, and so if it doesn't, then you feel closed off to other things. But I think for the most part, I think most women are going into this under the umbrella of all of those things, honestly. Like, it is escapism. It is something that it like kind of makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside, and something that you do hope for, because some of the plot lines are kind of crazy, but some of them aren't that outlandish. Like, it could happen. Yeah. And so it kind of gives you hope, and it kind of helps you like address what you like and what you don't like. Like, oh, I'm not a super romantic person, or oh, I love this, so when I find a guy or a girl, like I want to do these things with them too. Like, that appeals to me. So I think if you're watching it from like a level head, almost like when you're looking at social media, right? Like, oh, that's a cute picture of that girl, maybe filtered, maybe not, who knows? Like, you got to take it with a grain of salt. It's all of those things. It could be kind of escapey. It could be kind of like, if you're putting all your eggs in one basket, it could be unhealthy, but it could be fun. And listen, Sometimes people fall in love with the milkman. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
especially in 1950.
I think if you listen to almost anybody's love story, it seems like something out of Hallmark. Like, I mean, there's the ones that are totally crazy, like Very Merry Mix-Up or something like that, which is delightful, but just crazy. but there's also, I mean, most people have a meet cute. Most people have conflict. Most people, you know, have like it plays out. Like if you listen to their story, you think, oh, that's super cheesy, because it's just love. Love is cheesy. Love is silly. Love is ridiculous.
Totally.
So I mean, especially when you combine it with Christmas. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's like the two punch there. But
I'm still waiting for Santa to put like some sort of spell on me where like I fall in love with my boss.
Yeah. Did you see Christmas Perfection last year on Lifetime? You got to see it. It was so funny. It was so good. But she's got such a huge crush on her boss, and she ends up going to an Irish Christmas village, and she experiences Christmas every single day over and over and over again. And her boss is her boyfriend in the Christmas fantasy world, in the Irish world. You got to see it. It's really good.
You had me at Irish Christmas Village.
Yeah.
I was already there for it.
Yeah. It was my favorite Christmas movie of 2018, and I saw almost every single one. So, but anyway, but yeah. What do you think, Kelly? Do you think that about this as far as like actual dating versus these sort of fantasies that we watch and have fun with?
I agree that it's healthy to watch these movies. What becomes unhealthy, I think, is when all you do is stay in and watch the movies and you don't go out and meet people or even try a dating app, interact in some way, and expect the milkman or the postman or the diner owner that you knew when you were 12 to show up on your doorstep like the universe has delivered this gorgeous man with a bow on and says, here you go. I have given you everything you want. You have to be part of life, not, seclude yourself and sit there. I mean, ultimately, my dream is to find a man who will sit on the couch and watch the Hallmark movie with me.
So what you're basically saying is that me at Christmas time is very unhealthy, and I agree, because I'm watching so many of these Christmas movies. I call myself the Christmas hermit. I mean, it's ridiculous.
As long as you're limiting it to Christmas, you do have a brand to uphold. We understand. We forgive you.
But if somebody wants to take me away from that, hey, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, grab your mistletoe, girl. Get out there.
That's right. Yes. So let's talk really quick. I just wanted to share. So what are some of your guys' favorites, whether it's Hallmark movies or just rom-coms in general? What are a couple that you love?
You guys, I just saw the one with Rebel Wilson where she's making fun of the romantic comedy. Yeah. Yes.
So funny, right?
Plane.
Yes. It was seriously like, it's kind of reminding me of what we're talking about right now. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. These rom-coms are ridiculous. You freaking love them. You love them and you kind of want it and you want parts of it, but you also are like, really? I don't get to have sex with this guy, or I don't get to like swear, or so. I mean, I think that movie kind of, first of all, I'm going to say that is like on my top. I love Serendipity as a rom-com. Yes. That's always a good one. But that one the Rebel Wilson one was so cute. It was a little bit of a different spin. And I love that it was like, all right, it's about time to poke fun at the cheesiness, but at the same time, like we all kind of love it.
Yeah. It was so funny. And they had like something like 125 different references to different rom-coms within the movie of like her clothes that she was wearing, her things in the background, like so many different things. And the whole movie, the whole romantic comedy world might as well have been a Spring Fever movie in Hallmark. Like all the fake flowers and the cupcake stores. And
yeah,
it was so funny.
I loved it.
I agree with you 100%.
All of the Nancy Meyers movies. I don't even care if they're bad, good, or amazing. I will see them. I want to live in Montecito. I want to have I want to speak French, because like what they all do. They're super wealthy. they're just like a gorgeous family. So I actually did yoga yesterday, and Diane Keaton was in the class, and I was like, oh my God, so this is what's going to happen. We're going to end the class. She's going to come up to me. She's going to be like, I have this son I must introduce you to. Then some song is going to play. I am going to be in love, obviously, because he's going to come meet her with flowers from the farmer's market and be introduced to me. And like birds will chirp.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. But I still, again, have hope. Something like that might.
Put up.
The Keaton sons didn't know how close they were. I mean, the love of their lives.
I think she has children. I don't even know.
Who knows?
Wait, wasn't she with Warren Beatty? I don't know. Maybe. See, look at Hollywood royalty. You could be Hollywood royalty, Jen.
Driving every day.
Yeah. Well, my favorite, I love Nora Ephron. Even her bad movies, I just think she does such a good job of sort of weaving in social commentary without being annoying about it. She'll have like in You've Got Mail, which is one of my all-time faves, where, he's like talking about Starbucks, or he's talking about, he'll have like a little funny quip about, it's called reading, Dad, kind of things, and like little jokes and stuff like that are actually kind of little bit satirical, a little bit social commentary, but not like bam, bam, bam. And I don't know, she's just so funny in her writing, I think, and she just elevates material that probably wouldn't be that great, but I don't know. I love Sleepless in Seattle. I love You've Got Mail. I love When Harry Met Sally. I love those movies. And I like Julie and Julia. I like the Julia part way more than the Julie part. She does such a great job. She did.
There's no wrong with Nora Ephron. I feel like she is just a classic. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree.
Do you have favorites, Kelly?
Oh, I was actually recently asked to make my top 20, and that was impossible. But I would have to, I'm totally here for anything that Sandra Bullock or Reese Witherspoon are in. I love those movies. I haven't seen the Rebel Wilson one, but I wrote it down. I want to watch that one. But I love her and everything else. Yeah. Like How to Be Single. Oh my gosh, I think that's like my spirit animal right now. And then as far as Hallmark movies, because hello, we're talking about Hallmark movies too. Anything Jen Lilly has been in, and 9 Lives of Christmas. Those are my favorites.
9 Lives of Christmas is really good. I like most of the Jen Lilly ones, but she's always great, no matter what. But I kind of like sort of maybe the little bit older ones from like 2013 to 2015, because they could take a little bit more risk with some of those. 9 Lives of Christmas is really good. Trading Christmas is really good.
Yes.
I like How to Fall in Love a lot. Mm-hmm. There was one I was watching the other day called Farewell, Mr. Kringle, and I really liked that a lot. That one was underrated. They're so fun.
I love that you're watching it in July too. That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There was one, and sometimes during the holidays, I watch so many of them. I think I'm watching current ones, but then sometimes they might be old.
Yeah.
The one about the poinsettia farm, that the poinsettias were dying. Was that Hallmark? I feel
that was Lifetime.
Oh, was that Lifetime?
Yeah.
The Vanessa Lachey Lifetime one was really good too.
Yeah, that one was good.
Yeah.
And I thought that one, I liked the fact that in that movie, neither one of them was like demonized for their work. Because sometimes these movies can be like, oh, you're a slave to your job. You're a horrible person. It's like, no, I have to make a living. Sorry.
Yeah, don't make that a bad thing. That's so funny, Kelly, that you had to make a list or someone asked you to make a list of your favorite rom-coms. You girls need to make lists of things that you want in a partner, because that's like the first step to the dating and relationship things. I don't know if they've ever done it in a Hallmark movie, but like to sit down and write a list of the qualities that you want in a partner is like actually kind of hard.
Well, see, I was going to ask you about this. So now we're going to get deep into sort of talking really about relationships, because so I asked a forum at part of my church of singles for what is difficult about modern dating. And so I got some really good comments. And a woman named Danny, she says, sometimes I lose hope that there are great quality men out there. It's hard knowing that no one is perfect, but also not wanting to settle. So I think this is an interesting question, because I was going to talk to you guys about must-have lists. Are must-have lists a good thing, or are they a bad thing? Because a couple of years ago, I was kind of, sort of, maybe starting to date this guy, but I was really concerned because he seemed like a super mama's boy. I was like, I don't know. And he seemed like he always he was just going to be staying in this small, tiny town in like Wyoming for forever. And I'm like, I don't know about that either. And my friend, she was like, I gave up my must-have list a long time ago. And I was like, I don't feel like that's a must. I feel like that's like a serious, like if I don't want to live in a tiny town and be married to a mama's boy, like I need to acknowledge that. Like that's an important thing
Absolutely.
if the relationship is going to work. But like in her mind, she's just like, I don't know, that was being maybe too picky. I don't know. But what do you guys think about must-have lists? What do you think, Lauren?
Okay, well, you can call it whatever you want. A must-have list kind of makes it sound a little bit more trivial than I think like calling it maybe, I don't know, like something that it's not like a good term, but like morals and values and things like that, those count. And I think that you can't, if someone's like, speaking of rom-com, like failure to launch, you're not going to want to be in a relationship with somebody like that. And maybe if you phrased it not as like lives in a small town and might be a mama's boy, but maybe it's like must be motivated and ambitious. Those are important qualities that then manifest itself in those little other things that sound trivial, but they're not. I think making a list of like, I don't know, Jen and I call them deal breakers, but maybe that's different than must have. Yes. I think that is like, yes, it is important to have boundaries and standards, and then other things you can compromise on. Like, yeah, I want a tall guy, but like it's not like a must-have that you're tall, because if you're a great human and I'm in love with you, then oh well.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Jen?
Well, I am like a list lover. I have lists for days. I could like make lists of my lists. But the best list that I read that we should all make is actually in a book by an author that we're having on our podcast in September. Her name's Amy Spencer, and her book is called Meeting Your Half Orange. And she says not to make a list about stats, but make a list about what you want to feel. So instead of saying I want someone to be tall, which is something I've always said because I'm a height supremacist, to say that I want someone who makes me feel feminine and secure and safe from harm and whatever else I wrote that made it so that he has to be a certain build and like have certain strength and have certain manliness to him that I deem manly or whatever, that will elicit those feelings for me, because it's about how you feel in a relationship, not if they have a job, but do they have ambition? And are you inspired by them? Or do they make you a better person? Do they bring out the best in you? Like, what are the things that you want to feel in the relationship, and explain those things, because the stats could be anything. Like somebody could be a doctor, but he could also be a cheater. Like just because he's a doctor doesn't make him a good guy. But maybe caring and loves to give back and that kind of thing. So
yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. I think because it's and I think it's a mistake to not assume that like certain lifestyle things are like really important. Like if I was to start dating somebody who hated podcasts and wasn't going to be supportive of that at all, then we're not going to be able to work like as a couple, because it literally takes, it's basically my job, like if he can't be supportive, and it's not like he has to listen every day, but he'd be like, okay, have fun, do your thing. Like, I do think like certain things, like, I know people make it work with different religions all the time, but I think that you at least have to kind of know going into it that what people's priorities and what you're going into, and not have some idea that, I'm going to convert this person or I'm going to change this person or whatever. And I don't know, I kind of looked at it too as like when I was buying my house, I had a list, like I really wanted an island and I ended up cutting like 3 or 4 things off the must-have list. Right. But I ended up loving my house. So I kind of feel like maybe it's something like that. I don't know. But
absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think, Kelly?
I think when you brought up the idea of a list, the first thing that popped into my head was the rom-com The Ugly Truth with Katherine Heigl. If you haven't seen it, it's hilarious. And she goes on that date with the guy at first, and she sits down with him and is like, oh yeah, you have like 42 of my 45 attributes. Good job on the credit score, by the way. Like she's already, and he's like, whoa, because she had like all this checklist. And I have a couple of friends who are very much into lists. And I've thought about it, but I'm with Jen, where it's more of how is somebody going to make me feel in a relationship? Like, I know I want to feel supported. I want to feel like they make me a better person, and I want to feel beautiful. That's a big one for me. Something that, to be honest, I've struggled with as, like a younger person, as a teen. Everybody has self-esteem issues, but that was one thing that I noticed in a very long relationship that I did have. That was something that I didn't experience, but I didn't recognize it until afterwards. And I feel like at this stage of my life, I'm able to kind of be more mindful of the choices that I'm making with relationships and people that I'm choosing to spend my time with. So I know I definitely don't think I should be like, okay, he has to be 5'11", make $150,000 a year more. Like, I don't think it's that specific. I think that how they make you feel as a person, as long as you feel safe and cherished and beautiful, and you guys work together. Like if he didn't like my blog, that would be a deal breaker, as you said, things like that. Because it's a partnership. You should be supporting one another. You should be growing together, not independently and just kind of existing in the same atmosphere.
Yeah, I think a good example of a Hallmark movie that really covers this topic, if you want to check out, it's an old one, but it's called The Wish List. This stars Jennifer Esposito, and she has this list of all the things that she wants in a mate, and she meets this guy, and he's like a doctor, he's really charming and really great, and so she checks off all the list, but the whole time, David Sutcliffe is there as this like really creative, weird barista, and he's like making her funky coffee and stuff like that. And anyway, and she just has this chemistry with the barista guy, but he's definitely not anything on her list. And but I think that that we were talking about is a feelings list, like you were saying, Jen. I think that he did check off. He was very thoughtful. He listened to her. He made her the coffee that he thought she would like, and he was kind of encouraged her, pushed her out of her comfort zone, because we don't want to be married to ourselves. That would be boring. So, yeah, I think that's a good one to check out.
Sounds really good. It brings up a good point too, though. And the flip side, that is kind of like a rom-com idea too. Like, oh, it's the guy that you didn't think was going to be the guy or whatever. Like, and that is not to say that then you have to settle. I think this is where this argument plays that, like, I have a list of things, so I'm either checking off this list or I'm settling. There's a gray area. Like, you also can go for the guy or girl that gives you these feelings, but you still are allowed to feel chemistry. I think being attracted to somebody is a real thing too. I think it's kind of going to be all of those things. Like, it's going to be like the hot guy or girl and the guy or girl that makes you feel the things that are important to you on this list, whatever you title it.
Yeah. I think one of the comments actually was really right to continue the discussion. He said, this girl named Nikki, she says, there is also a lot of fear about making a decision early on. Dating is a process, and I feel like people want to get to the decision part without putting in the work to make a confident decision. And I think that that's a really good point, that a lot of these kind of decisions are sort of these questions about, are your list, will get sorted out if you take time to properly date. That's the whole point of dating. And I think sometimes we've gotten to the point where if somebody asks you on a date, if there's somebody that you already know, and it's not like a blind date or something like that, then you already assume that they are like really interested in you. If they ask you out and you like, if they're in your church group or they're in some kind of group and you ask them out, I feel like the assumption, because people just don't casually date as much as they used to. And so if somebody in my church group asked me out, I would definitely assume that they are pretty interested in me to take that next step, which is a shame, because I think that the whole point of dating is to try to figure out, if you are interested in each other. It's like we skip a step.
Yeah,
and so I think that's a really point that she makes about how just don't feel this pressure of like, I got to make a decision right away. I can, take a break. This is 2019. We can take our time. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think the best kind of relationships, and we've had experts and things and authors and dating coaches on our shows, like they all say it's the relationship that is more of a slow burn and not like the instant sparks right away and then like it usually fizzles out. Most of the time, the healthy relationship is built on like the slow process of getting to know each other. A lot of, we had a dating coach on one time that said like, you might need to wait for like date number 2 or 3 to even like feel some sort of like sexual attraction potentially because you're uncomfortable and that could be guarding you or whatever other things. Maybe you're busy or whatever. It takes a second, especially for a woman, to kind of warm up to the situation. And so you should allow yourself a little bit of wiggle room there to get to know somebody slowly and not be blinded by one thing like, ooh, they have a good job, or ooh, they're really attractive, or ooh, they're tall enough, or whatever. Like those things are just surface things that are instant gratification and not like longevity checklist items.
Yeah, but I think one of the hard things though is that then like we're trying to take our time, but they're also trying to date purposefully. Like that can be a hard sort of balance in modern dating. Whereas like in the past, like dating was a very clear cut. We're dating, we're going to court, we're going to get married, we're going to, like there's all these steps. And now like one of the comments, Tebony, she says, this idea that two people just hang out, it's not even called a date. A lot of what I refer to as lather, rinse, and repeat dead ends. So, because that's also a problem too on the flip side. Is this even a date? I don't even know. We went to the movies together, he paid. I guess it's a date. I don't know. What?
I think just going back to what you were saying about like the decision, like everyone's so quick to make a decision and they're skipping some steps. But I think the most important thing is the more you date, the more you get to know someone and the more you get to know yourself, more importantly. So sometimes you do have to kiss a lot of frogs or you have to go on a bunch of dates to know what you like and don't like and what might be a trigger for you or might be something that makes you feel comfortable or that you like when somebody does on a date. You also will get more comfortable in communicating the things. So you can say, I don't appreciate that plan. I actually would prefer you pick me up, or it would make me feel more comfortable to meet you there, or I'd much rather this activity, or is this a date? I'd love to know. Like, you just figure out where you fit into the equation and what works for you.
Yeah, I think that's where you have to try to find that balance, but it is difficult. It really is.
Well, and times are a little different now because you mentioned courting, which is a very kind of archaic term, although I love it. I think it's great. Mm-hmm. But in the world that we're in today, like, I'll be honest, the last 2 guys that I went on dates with, they were friends, which is great because I had a chance to get to know them first. They were people that I would never have expected to go on dates with. And they hit me up on Facebook Messenger. They didn't call my house. They didn't ask me in person. It was a very almost impersonal, but that's just the way things are done now, like with dating apps or online dating. There's so many different pathways to getting a date now. And I'll be on both of them. I didn't know it was a date until we were, kissing at the end of the night. So yay.
Good date. Successful.
Good for me. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the end of the movie for Hallmark. I mean, good.
And that's another point, like with Hallmark movies, when we were discussing whether they're healthy, like rom-coms in general, especially Hallmark movies, and if it's healthy or not, like their dates, they start like on, minute 5 and they're reconnecting or meeting the person. And like 2 days later, they're married. And there's this unrealistic timeline that is perpetuated in a lot of like romantic comedies nowadays that even though I love them and they are like a guilty pleasure, they're not realistic and they're like the adult Disney movie.
Yeah, I think so. They're an escapism, and that can be healthy to have, but
totally.
You need to be careful. But I do like the idea of sort of the idea of courting in the sense that it was purposeful and that's what they
Yes.
were setting out to do. It wasn't just kind of like aimlessly, just hanging out is something that's fine in your 20s. But once you're in your 30s, let's move forward.
I know what happens in college, and even then, if I went back in college and now, like, if somebody wanted to hang out, it'd be like, no.
Yeah.
Hard pass.
Oh, and it's the Netflix and chill culture.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
That's a thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
that should be reserved for like date number 5. Like, there's no reason two people who are getting to know each other should Netflix and chill. Like, I don't think anybody should go to each other's houses until date 5 anyway.
Okay, good.
Effort should be made.
You can't talk like you should know each other well enough to be comfortable, like sitting in a closed space and like just being silent around each other. It's kind of hard when you don't like really know somebody. Mm-hmm. So I think that if you're gonna like Netflix and chill, I think you should for sure like be in it well enough to be comfortable to do that. Like I do that with
I agree.
Beyonce. That's like what we do now.
Well, that's what I always say on this podcast. I say we do it wrong. We, instead of doing dinner and a movie, it should be movie and dinner. Because then you can talk about the movie.
Good point.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Totally a good idea.
Yeah.
But also going back to like people being in each other's houses, like make an effort. There's so many activities out there that you can do and you should be doing, and you should be courting each other even. Like the girls should also come up with some fun ideas. Like
Exactly.
I think, the guy should come up with the first 2. Maybe the girl asks for the 3rd and has like some creativity. Maybe he still pays, which is cool. But you should at least be like, hey, I have a brain too, and I like you, so I'm going to put forth effort and Google some ideas.
Yeah.
Oh,
It can
yeah.
go both ways, but people seem to be very jaded and disheartened by the whole swiping aspect of it, and it's just exhausting. But again, I was just telling a girlfriend yesterday, if somebody's jaded and they don't want to make an effort to plan a first date or a second date, they shouldn't be on the apps because they are not meant to be dating right now.
Mm-hmm.
If their heart's not in it and they're not still hopeful and they're not actually trying to find love, then they shouldn't be on the app.
They shouldn't, but unfortunately, those people don't know that, or they're succumbing to the pressure of like, I need to be putting myself out there, and I need to be doing this. So they're putting the intention. That's something that I think is important to think about too. Talking about dating on an app or just in general, like let's just say you're going on an app and you're opening it up. If your intention is like, your thought is already like, I guess I have to open this dating app and like put myself out there. You're already putting a bad vibe, if you believe in that, into this universe. And now you're dating under the premise of like, oh, I guess I have to do this. And those people, you're right, Jen, should not be on the app, unfortunately, like, or dating at all. But like, people still do it anyway. So you have a responsibility as the other person on the other end to like find those people and see those signs and be like, goodbye.
It's interesting because I'm so good at I don't know. I feel like I'm really good at social media in every other way, but dating apps. And the problem that I have with dating apps is that I feel like it forces you to be superficial because you have this huge pool of people, right? And you have to find some way of narrowing it down. But all the stuff that you're narrowing it down by are all superficial. Right? Like if I like say one of my filters might be that I want say college graduate, right? Is it possible that I could not that I could fall in love with somebody who isn't a college graduate? Of course. My sister-in-law I don't think she even graduated high school, and she's super intelligent and super wonderful and super great. And so of course that's a superficial thing. But I have to fix something. Otherwise I just this huge pool of people. And that's what's frustrating to me sometimes about these apps. I don't know. What do you feel, Jen, about that?
I agree with you completely. And I think that's why people continue to swipe, and it's like the grass is always greener and it's a never ending cycle because you think the next swipe might be even more attractive or might have a graduate degree on top of just a regular degree, or they might be the right religion, or they might have like 11 toes, you just don't know what the next person's going to bring. So that's why you continue to swipe, because you cannot give up, because somebody better could be around the corner. And it's like this drug you have to keep taking. And it's kind of insane. I also think that these apps do not breed love. they're not set up for that because they are more like flashcards. Swiping left and right and X and heart, like that one heart that you see is not screaming love to me because you liked somebody's profile. I think that Hinge does a good job of asking prompts that relate a little bit more to who you are as a human, so you can react based on that and look for certain qualities in somebody else.
What's that one? I haven't even heard of it. Hinge?
Yeah.
Hinge. It's a good one.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
One of the big four. So gotta get on it.
I guess, yeah.
Can you list the big four for us, please?
So Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, and I won't say for me it would be like OkCupid, but I know that app as well.
I thought you were going to say like eHarmony, Match.com. Is that all old school now?
Those are more like websites versus apps.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're not the same type of just swiping kind of.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
More involved, and they actually say there's more success on eHarmony because you actually have to like put yourself out there and spend time on it and like really reveal yourself.
eHarmony's pretty expensive, and so like I feel like if you're putting out whereas Tinder's free, and so I feel like maybe that actually helps it a little bit. I don't know. I haven't had good luck with any of these, so what do I know?
Yeah. You have to really want it if you're going to pay for it and go through all that effort. But I don't think the apps really promote love. I think they promote like getting swipes. It's almost like Instagram, like social media, like you were saying. You're getting a lot of likes if people are swiping right on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you like them?
Yeah, it's an instant gratification thing too. And I mean, it's kind of conspiracy theorists, but like, do they want you to get off the app and stop using it? Or is the business side of it to keep you on the app? Who knows? But you should go into, just like watching a rom-com, like taking bits and pieces of it that work for you. Apps connect people quicker than normal. I think that you should take it with a grain of salt, like some of the filters that you put on the apps. But if you go into it with the intention of being hopeful and trying to get off the app as quick as possible, then I think then you can meet the person in real life and see these things and talk about, okay, maybe they didn't have this one thing that I was just reading on their app list of things, but they have other things that, okay, that makes sense to me, or I like that, or that's okay, or that still makes me feel this feeling. I didn't know it. Now that I have them in front of me, I can tell. So personally, I think we like to say on our show, get your head out of your app, like get off the app. Go into the app using it to connect you to somebody because it is doing that, and then get off of it. Like make a comment about, would be great to meet you, or here's my number, or whatever you're comfortable with to take it to the next step and do it.
Yeah. We had a good comment from Andy. He says, communication is key, particularly the way singles are finding dates is through dating apps. Many seem since they're on the app, it's easy to hide behind the app and only communicate with writing and not talking in person or the phone. I have also seen a lot that just seem to collect the amount of people they swipe on because they prefer quantity. So I guess you get a lot of swipes. You feel good about yourself. I don't know, but yeah, that's kind of the same thing. The other thing that I think is tricky about dating apps / websites is when you're making your profile, like every profile looks exactly the same, but then the ones that try to do something different, you're like, oh, that's kind of creepy and weird. I don't know if I like that. And so it's really hard to find that balance between kind of standing out but not standing out, I feel like, with your profile. Would you agree?
Well, I think you really have to be true to yourself. So whatever that is, without like going, like, don't pretend to be something you're not. And also don't highlight your weirdest quirk. Like, let that be revealed once somebody likes you. Like, then they'll find it endearing and charming. Don't like go in hot.
You're not everyone's cup of tea. It's okay. You're not going to please everybody. So if you have something that you really, really love doing, and it might be a little bit like different, and that's really a big part of you, then put it. So what? Then someone's going to swipe left on you because they don't like it, but someone else will. I think you just have to, like Jen said, just be you.
Yeah. I mean, I would say to guys, don't have a picture of you at the gym. Like, that is just so boring and so bland. And also, like, I don't love when people have pictures of them like on vacation, because I'm just like, yeah, good job. You climbed a mountain. Good job. Congratulations. But that's like, I don't know. What I like more is sort of personality shots. Like, I would rather see somebody that's has a picture of a selfie of them at a movie theater, because I think, oh, I like movies. That would be really fun. And not like, ooh, congratulations, you went to Cancun. Great. That's good. I don't know.
Well, and see, I think that's where it comes, like, that's where we would differ. Like, you're looking for somebody that's at the movies, whereas I have an incurable case of wanderlust. So when I do see somebody at like some random waterfall in Timbuktu, I'm like, oh, I want to date you. You'll go places with me.
Yeah.
Versus the homebody who just wants to go to Starbucks every day.
Oh, so yeah, I'm like, ooh, we have something in common. I like going out to eat. I'm a pretty simple person when it comes down to a lot of things.
But that's good, because it goes into like you knowing yourself and what you want in a relationship, and that will only strengthen the bonds that you do make eventually, because not so much like making a list, but you know what you want and you know what your lifestyle is like, and finding somebody to complement that is really ultimately the goal. And that's going to be great that you are self-aware. You know that about yourself.
I just feel like so many of the profiles are, congratulations, I climbed a mountain. I'm like, okay. I don't know. They all feel like they look the same, but I don't know. It's a tricky thing. Like, yeah, if there's somebody who, some other people might be kind of weirded out, say if they saw somebody in like a Jedi costume. I'd be like, we can go date. That would be really fun. But I don't know. What do you think about profiles, Lauren? What do you think?
I think they are tricky, because of course you also don't want to like put filters on them and make yourself look like you want to be forward, but you don't want to like over filter, because then you get in front of somebody and you're like, that doesn't look like you. So you want to like present yourself in your interests and how you want people to see you, but make sure how you want people to see you is actually who you are.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you've got a different idea of who you are in your mind, and if you have the ability to self-reflect and check yourself, maybe know like, okay, I'm gonna put this picture of me in front of this waterfall, but like this is the only trip I've ever been on in my life. Like, you might want to include in there like, I don't travel a lot, but I hope to travel more, or I love to travel. That's all I do. I have a job that allows me to travel. I want find someone to travel with me. I think just as long as you're trying to represent yourself as honestly as you can, those are the best profiles. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, you don't know if they're good representations or accurate representations until you actually get in front of the person and you get to know them. So that would be the whole goal of getting off the app.
Yeah, that's true. We have one last comment. This is from Lauren. This is one of our patrons. She says, "Oh goodness, where to begin? How do you meet people if you don't want to use an app? Disconnect between social media. There's a disconnect between the social media persona and impossibly high expectations versus reality, i.e., real humans, flaws and all. Meeting and finding someone who shares your values is also hard." So I think that's kind of the same thing. Like, and honestly, I know some people, if they see a picture of a guy with kids, they're like, "Ooh, they don't want kids." But for me, I'm like, "Oh, that is a sign. Hopefully, if he's the right kind of dad, that's a sign that maybe he does share some values that I share, because I value family and I value a lot of those things. And so I actually, especially because I'm almost 40, then." I kind of want to know, what's he been doing all this time? What's he been doing himself? And so if I see somebody with kids, I'm actually usually kind of like, oh, I'm going to take another look at this, because he might be a pretty nice guy. He's nice to his kids. I don't know. That's an interesting dynamic as well.
Yeah. Paying attention, I think that goes back, Rachel, to like the feeling. Like, don't just tell yourself, oh, I don't want someone with kids because I don't have them and I don't know if I want them and I don't know how I'm going to be with them. But think about what that feeling might give you. Like, oh, okay, I want to feel nurtured. I want to feel like taken care of. And like, if this guy is the right kind of dad or this woman is the right kind of mom, they must be able to do that because they have a human to take care of. And again, these are all assumptions until you actually get to know the person, but they could be pretty fair assumptions to be making in this beginning process when you just have the picture, some little facts, and that's it.
I think that if you pay attention to look a little deeper and pay attention to some things that even if it like turns you off at first, you're like, oh no, not that. But then maybe ask yourself though, like, wait, well, why don't I like that? Maybe that helps you discover more what you like, or maybe actually you're then taking a step back and saying, okay, wait, maybe I am open to this thing, and maybe I should ask myself why I'm not, or if I could be.
Yeah, I think so too. Sorry, Kelly, what were you saying?
No, I was going to say, and to add to that, because that's all beautiful, the comment I think was also concerned about not wanting to be on an app. Like, how do you meet these people? Join a church group, go to a class, like go to a bar, go join a bowling league, go find something that you like, and you find people that share your passion. Again, it comes down to what Lauren was saying about being really aware of who you are and what your values are and what you want and what you like, but then go and experience life and have fun. And those people will gravitate towards you and you'll gravitate towards them as you're, getting, because the apps aren't for everybody. That's not how everybody's going to choose to meet their person. But go out and live life. We can't, again, sit on the couch and wait for the milkman to arrive and, be like, I'm here.
And when you are out too, it doesn't always have to be like, I'm going out tonight to meet somebody. Again, getting your head out of your app, like also be present when you're out. When you're in line at Starbucks, like, don't be on your phone, look around, talk to the person behind you, pay attention at the grocery store. Like, it doesn't always have to be like for the intention of meeting somebody, but like you should try to be present in what you're doing, because there's a lot of disconnect today with phones and smartphones and digital anything. So I think that can be helpful too.
Absolutely.
Well, and one of the other things too, I think, is it's amazing how just the silliest little things can like spark a connection with somebody. Like I'm in a patron group that is all big fans of Survivor, and they have like meetups and things like that. And there have actually been couples that have found each other and now there's one that's had a child. Like people have found just over liking Survivor. And I think one of the things I hated about the show Seinfeld, it has a lot of good things, but one thing I hated about it is that almost every episode was sort of like, here's the flaw of this woman that Jerry's dating, whether it's like the big hands or the tall woman or the talks too close woman or the whatever. And that's funny for humor, but as far as dating, if you can look for what's the one thing I have in common with this person, because at the very least you'll have a pleasant evening talking with somebody about the fact you both like Survivor. You might not ever go out again, but hey, you've had a nice meal together or whatever it might be, or things. But yeah, I agree with you, Kelly, about you can go on to like meetup.com and there's all different kinds of groups that all like going, like I'm in a group that's Utah Theater enthusiast, I think it's called. Anyway, they pretty much every weekend they're going out to different shows, different theater, different plays. I don't do as much of it as I should, but it's so much fun. And like last year, I was going to the Josh Groban and Idina Menzel concert. Amazing, by the way. And I just put on there, anybody want to meet me for dinner before the concert? And I ended up being a woman that was up for it. And we ended up having a really nice, fun little meal together. And we enjoyed the concert. And I don't know, it was nice. I think that and a lot of people would be super weirded out by something like that. But I don't know. I think it's just, even if you don't end up finding the love of your life, you might find friends. Absolutely. And you might enjoy yourself. Yeah. Go to a good concert.
Yeah. And practice the art of conversation, because because sometimes it's difficult to talk to strangers. It's awkward and uncomfortable, but I think Lauren was saying, when you're at Starbucks, talk to the person behind you. Practice that social activity, make eye contact and smile. That's a huge one. I notice sometimes I'm not doing that. I'm looking down. I'm like, no, I've got I tell myself, look up, look at the world. But, I tell my students that too. I'm all, hey, let the world see your smile, because you never know who you're going to meet. And you could meet your next best friend or the love of your life or somebody who wants to hand you $1 million and introduce you to the postman who's going to be the love of your life. It could all happen.
Yeah.
But, I mean, going back to like being present in your surroundings and also tying in romantic comedies, I think sometimes we as women, just because the four of us have in our mind that things are supposed to happen a certain way because we see it that way, and that men are supposed to court women and they're supposed to do certain things and we're supposed to do certain things. And, it's on them to sort of like make the first move. However, there is an even first move where you could just give that person attention or give them an opening where they feel comfortable enough to come up to you or ask you out. So we have to play a part too in providing, a safe space for these men who now with the dating app culture feel a little bit more insecure. That's changing. The gender roles are changing. Everything's changing. So we have to sort of meet them in the middle and participate.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Agree.
Yes.
Agree. So very good. This has been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed talking about this. I feel like I sound like I'm better at dating than I am because I'm terrible at it. But I think we all are kind of terrible at it. But
no, you need to work on that mental diet, girlfriend.
Yeah,
you need to tell yourself you are fabulous. No negative speak.
Okay, good. Very true. Very true. But we'd love to hear in the comments section your guys' thoughts about dating and all the different things that we've talked about and why you think it's difficult, why you think it's easy, whatever tips you've gotten over the years, all that fun stuff. We would love to hear in the comment section or on Twitter and talk about it. And thank you so much, all three of you, for coming on. This has been kind of a different podcast than we typically do, but I've really enjoyed it. I think it's been really fun. So let us know if you want sort of more like this, because we could definitely do that. And Jen, how can people find? Are you two online yourselves or just as a podcast?
Yep, we have our own Instagram handles. Okay. I'm at Jennifer Golden on every platform. And then together we are at Complicated Show.
Great. And Lauren, what about you? What's your social media?
Yes, and my personal social media is at Lauren Leonelli on all the platforms. And then again, like Jen said, follow our show, listen to our show every week at Complicated Show.
Yeah, definitely. You guys definitely should. It's really fun. And Kelly, how can people find you?
Twitter is one of the easiest ways, at SingleGirlT4, FOR1, the number 1. Or I'm on Instagram too. If you search Single Girl Table for One, you can find me on Instagram as well. And those will both link to my blog, which I hope you check out.
Yeah, we'll have all of that in the description section. You guys should definitely check it out. You can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes and YouTube. Make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, if you can give us your ratings and reviews, really appreciate it. And if you're listening on YouTube, watching on YouTube in this case, if you can give us your thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, we really appreciate that as well. And thanks so much, you guys. This was really fun. And yeah, we will have to have you on again soon for sure.
Awesome. We had so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
This podcast was brought to you by Hallmarkies for Hallmarkies. For more information about how you can leave your mark on Hallmarkies, visit hallmarkiespodcast.com. Link in the description.